What's up, y'all? I am Brian Otto, and this is your introduction to all 30 teams in Fake Baseball, my fictional World Baseball League that I run in Super Mega Baseball 3. If you want a quick crash course on what Fake Baseball is, check out the video I linked in the description below. We'll get started in the Western League in the Northern Division, known as North by Northwest. First up, we got the Cascadia Kodiaks, otherwise known as the Yaks. This is the team that I personally manage. The Kodiaks were one of the first custom teams I ever made in Super Mega Baseball 3 and are basically the reason that the BFBL exists. The Yaks tend to produce some of the best offensive teams you'll find in the entire league and are historically the winningest team in the BFBL. Next up, the Missoula Moose. The Moose represent the beautiful city of Missoula, Montana, and are fierce divisional rivals of the Kodiaks. The Moose are one of several teams in the BFBL that are based off an original team from Super Mega Baseball. I felt it was important to have some of the original teams and mascots from Super Mega Baseball in a league that uses the game as its foundation. The Portland Swifts. Some hometown representation here, as I myself am a Portlander. Formerly known as the Portland Freight Hoppers, the Swifts rebranded in Season 18, named for the tens of thousands of Bose Swifts that roost in the city every year. Portland are the only team to have a pitcher win both the Magnifico Award and the MVP Award in the same season. That player, of course, being Count Magnifico himself. Then we got some non-LA California rep with the Santa Cruz Sawteeth, who actually just got a redesign to their uniforms as of Season 21. Another original Super Mega Baseball team that's been repurposed for the BFBL. They are the primary divisional rivals of the Portland Swifts. Closing out the North by Northwest, we got the Chicago Dogs. This is a brand new team as of Season 21, and we love some dog representation. The Dogs were formerly known as the Victoria Foresters before they got moved to Chicago at the conclusion of Season 20. They've for a long time been the bad team in the division, but have improved drastically in recent years, making their first ever World Series in Season 20. Now let's move on to the Southern Heat Division. We'll start with Los Bomberos de Santo Domingo, also stylistically known as Bomberos Sandam. I love this logo. I actually originally created this team for an entirely different league that I simmed before Fake Baseball's existence. The Dominican Republic is a huge baseball country, and it only felt right to have them represented on the world stage in the BFBL. Then we got the Carolina Reapers. Similar to the Dogs, a great team name with a double meaning. Historically, they're the most successful franchise in the South, and the only team in the division with a World Series title. They're soft rivals of the Kodiaks, who they sparred with many times in the playoffs in the early seasons of the BFBL. Next, we got the Havana Knights. One of my proudest designs and logos, the Knights are the primary divisional rivals of the Bomberos. They are, unfortunately, the losingest team in the Western League, though they did just make their third ever playoff appearance in Season 20. They've consistently produced some of the best pitching talent in the modern era of Fake Baseball. And some Mexico representation, we got the Mexico City Heaters, or Heaters CDMX. This is another original Super Mega Baseball team. Staying true to their namesake, they consistently put together rosters that feature speed and especially elite pitching. Count Magnifico, who the Magnifico Award is named after, was one of the founding team members with the Heaters in Season 1. The final team in Southern Heat are the Sao Paulo Toucans. They easily got the best team hashtag in hashtag #ToucanSlam and some of my favorite uniforms. They saw a lot of success in the early days of Fake Baseball, but currently hold the longest playoff drought of any team, with their last appearance being all the way back in Season 7. And now we'll move on to the final division in the Western League, the Urban Atlantic. We'll start with the Boston Commodores, also nicknamed the Commies. Previously known as the Boston Freebooters, they rebranded to the Commodores in Season 14. A fun fact is that I would have called them the Boston Dreadnoughts, but the name was over the game's character limit. I have a bit of a thing for nautical imagery, and this is probably my favorite logo I've created in all of Fake Baseball. Next, the Montreal Voyagers, also sometimes called the Voids. They were originally known as the DC Advocates up until Season 7. I always loved the Montreal Expos in real baseball, so it only felt right to reverse the wrongs of the MLB and move the Washington, D.C. team up to Canada to represent Montreal in the BFBL. And now we got the first of two New York teams, the New York Favorites. These guys are basically the Mets of Fake Baseball in so many ways. They didn't make their first postseason appearance until season 11, but have had a ton of success in the modern era of fake baseball, with several Urban Atlantic titles in recent years. And as you might imagine, the favorites are the primary rivals of the other New York team, the New York Nemesis. The Nemesis are basically the Yankees of the BFBL. And it's true, they have the second most lifetime wins of any fake baseball team, and they just won the World Series back in season 18. The Nemesis are another repurposed original Super Mega Baseball team and have stayed true to their roots with a focus on home runs and slugging the baseball. Rounding out both the Western League and the Urban Atlantic, we have the Pittsburgh Unioneers in that classic Pittsburgh black and gold. Named after the rich history of labor organizing in Pittsburgh, the Unioneers were actually originally on the other side of the Atlantic, going by the England Goldcoats up until season 6. They are one of only 2 teams in fake baseball to win back-to-back World Series, which they accomplished in seasons 7 and 8. Now, let's check out the Eastern League teams, and we'll get started with the European division, otherwise known as Eurovision. Corsa Palermo, or Palermo Racing, will get us started. Some of my favorite jerseys, both their name and colors, are inspired by Italy's illustrious history in professional motorsport. They were originally known as the London Monarchy until the team moved back in season 14. Despite their relative lack of playoff success, they've produced some of the best players in BFBL history. Next, the Dublin Mallards, who actually recently had their logo and colors updated. The Mallards are historically one of the top teams in Europe and one of 3 with a World Series title, which they accomplished in season 13 after they signed Olympus Mons. They have one of the bigger fan bases in the BFBL and are primary rivals to the other European powerhouse, the Munich Engineers. One of my personal favorite teams, they almost always produce cool rosters. This is another team that I made for a different sim league that I retooled for the BFBL. The Engineers are the winningest team in Europe and have produced many of the modern era's top stars, including players like Kellen Zuniga, Waldorf Quantum, Ibrahim Abate, and Dubai Maro. As of the making of this video, Golondrinas de Valencia are the defending World Series champions. They were extremely dominant in the early years of the BFBL and often foster rosters made up entirely of fundamentally solid, homegrown players rather than big-time free agents. They are the primary rivals of Corsa Palermo. Rounding out Europe, we have a team close to my heart, the Glasgow Greys. If you like rooting for perpetually tragic sports teams, the Greys are for you. They've produced some of the league's all-time best players like Keith McLaughlin and Adelmo Cabrera, but they can just never quite put it all together in the same season. While they've been close many times, they only have 1 playoff appearance. Moving on now to the most competitive division in all of fake baseball, the Pacific Theater. We'll start things off with a fan favorite team in the Busan Blowfish, often affectionately referred to as the Blowies. The Blowfish are another original Super Mega Baseball team that I repurposed for the league. And true to their origins, they often produce rosters focused around high contact and putting the ball in play. They are one of 2 Korean teams and are the primary rivals of the Seoul Spectres, another fan favorite team. The Spectres are one of the single most successful teams in the modern era. They've made the World Series 3 times, facing the Kodiaks twice and beating them once. They consistently produce some of the most unrelenting offenses in the Eastern League. Moving over to Japan now, we have the Nagoya Nocturnals. Nicknamed the Nox, they have some of the most unique jerseys in the league and are generally a really unique team. They have the best lifetime win-loss record of any team in the East, despite playing in such a tough division, but have only made the playoffs 4 times. Easily the team in fake baseball with the most what-ifs. Next, we have the Nox main rivals in Kyoto Baseball Club, often simply referred to as KBC. Kyoto won the World Series in fake baseball's inaugural season, but have struggled to find consistent success since. Their home ballpark, Sagano Stadium, is one of the most beautiful in all of baseball, and I always look forward to broadcasting games there. And the last team in the Pacific Theater are the Honolulu Yellowfins. The Yellowfins hold a pair of unfortunate fake baseball records. They have the record for the most playoff appearances without a World Series win, and the most World Series appearances without a win. Their home ballpark hosts the largest dimensions of any BFBL team, and they tend to play a very cool and specific brand of baseball because of it. Lastly, we move on to the Southern Continental Division, otherwise known as SOCO. We'll start with the Brisbane Bushrangers, named after the infamous Australian outlaws of the 19th century. They were originally known as the Queensland Kingfishers until they moved in Season 8. They notably just broke an 11-season playoff drought back in Season 19, and they are the primary rivals of the other Australian team, the Melbourne Fighting Platypi, another original SMB3 team that I repurposed for the BFBL. I mentioned the Greys being tragic, but the Fighting Platypi are the defining perennially bad team of fake baseball. If you're looking for the underdogs, you found them right here. I'm not sure what it is about the Platypi. Even when the team looks good on paper, they play poorly. I think honestly they might be cursed. They've only made the playoffs once in their history. Moving away from Australia now, we have the Jakarta Jaguars. The Jags have always been a scrappy ball club. They saw most of their success in the beginning years of fake baseball, including a dramatic Season 8 World Series appearance where they lost to the Unioneers in 7 games. They've produced some of my personal favorite players in BFBL history, including Kodiak greats like Rylan Baja, and one of the league's current superstars in Soap McTavish. Next up, we have the Dakar Yoff Mariners. I'm a huge Mariners fan in real baseball, so I had to include their namesake somewhere in the BFBL. They were formerly the Dakar Hunters until rebranding in Season 8. Their logo and colors are directly inspired by the Dakar coat of arms. They tend to fly kind of under the radar in fake baseball, so if you're looking for a team to support that doesn't have a ton of current fans, the Mariners are for you. And finally, we have the single most dominant team in the Eastern League, the Johannesburg Springboks. They have the second most playoff appearances all time in fake baseball. It's often said that the Eastern League runs through Johannesburg. It's also often said that the Springboks are inevitable. No matter what, they always find a way to be competitive in SoCo, especially toward the end of the season. They are one of only 3 teams with multiple World Series titles. I hope you enjoyed your introduction to all 30 teams in fake baseball. If you want to learn more about the league or interact with the community in any way, check out the description below for all the necessary links, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching.